Good afternoon. We're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in the bio section of my social media accounts. Also, I don't see anything on the economic calendar, no Powell, nothing. You got OPEC and some Friday numbers, but nothing really substantial this week. Also, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. It helps me out a lot. I don't have much on the bearish side. I have a few on the bullish side. But like I keep saying over and over, you need to be in the room because the gap ups, the gap downs, and things that happen overnight have been like game changers. And you need to be there in the morning to understand if the dynamic of the play has changed. And we've just been seeing massive gap ups and gap downs lately. So they do change quite a bit based on that. So with that said, I'll just get into it. I'm just going to keep the watch list simple this week. I usually end up watching the same 10, 12 tickers all the time, and I don't like chasing all the stock news and stuff like that. I'd rather be familiar with a couple dozen, well, not a couple dozen, about a dozen stocks and get used to how they move and just play off them and stuff like that. I know that the last few weeks I've been playing nothing but SPY, and SPY has just been, SPX has just been fun to play, and the moves you get in SPX, you just need massive moves in other stocks to get those kind of plays. So, and I kind of been having fun with SPX and SPY. So I'm gonna just see if opportunities this week, and I keep playing them. So yeah. With that said, on the bearish side, I have Disney. I only have Disney and D, which is John Deere, but I'm looking at this. You still see a downward trend right here on Disney. I mean, it could break out of this, no problem. But I'm looking at this on the hourly, which is right here on the left. You get the daily and you get the weekly on the right. And then it gets to the top of the Keltner channel on the hourly and likes to reverse. But there is a trend line right here. You can draw it right here if you want. And so I would watch it underneath Friday's low of 175 for a push down to possibly fill the gap here at 172. On the daily, it is reversing. It did reject the 20 EMA, which is the middle Keltner channel right here. Now, those that know me, they know that I love the disconnect of the moving averages, and you can see right here. Disney, it dropped right here, came back up and retested the 20 EMA and dropped again and retested again. Usually it likes to test it at least once. This being the second time, it's possible that it could end up breaking out and going over 178 over 180 and making a run to 185. But I'm looking at the downward trend on the hourly and looking on the shorter side and stuff like that. But we also got ER coming up soon. I don't think we have ER this week. The banks should be let me double check that. Hold on a second here. Yeah, it looks like the banks are going to be next week based on what I'm seeing. So let's see. Yeah, banks are going to be next week. There's nothing happening this week. So as far as earnings, so that is the Disney thing, the Disney play I'm looking at on the short side, John Deere. Now we get the infrastructure bill, then we also have China, drama in China going on. So we'll have to see if John Deere will actually collapse. I mean, it's sitting right on the RCT trend line on the weekly. It does look kind of bearish though on the daily and the weekly. You get like a left shoulder here, a head, a possible right shoulder right here. If it gets below this 333 level, it's probably going to end up just going to 300, so or even down here to 320. So we'll watch it underneath this 334 area. If it does manage to break that, watch the 330, we should say 320, 322, and then if that does end up breaking, it's probably going to end up going to 300. So we'll have to see if John Deere does drop. Now, I don't think I've ever played John Deere options. I might have once or twice. If I have, it's been a long time ago. I don't know what the options look like. I'll have to look at it tomorrow to see what the options chain and the spread and stuff looks like with the volume. So now, oops, somehow I did that. SPY. Now SPY just had its drop down here over the last couple weeks, went up to the 20 EMA and rejected. So the thing that I find interesting is right here it had a bear flag, which we did get this drop. Then it had like another bear flag right here and a drop. But the thing that I really find interesting is that we had a massive run on Friday, which I was so totally on the wrong side of, or trying to top it, trying to guess the top. But anyways, it came right here and retested this bear flag breakdown area. Usually what ends up happening is that it usually ends up going lower, but SPY being SPY and the Fed just always pumping the market and just forever putting money into it, that we could end up seeing SPY, fill the gap at the 442, 445 this week, and not even this week. I wouldn't be surprised if it fills it tomorrow. Depends on what happens with futures tonight, plus with the things intensifying with China and Taiwan. So who knows how the market may react. Market might not even care. Market might not even react at all. I mean, that stuff's been going on for a long time, but it is escalating. I can't imagine it's gonna do anything. I mean, I can't say that. I mean, anything can happen, but if it does, China does end up trying to invade Taiwan, it's going to crush its economy, and it's going to be a really big black swan event. But I just don't see it happening. We'll just have to see if it does happen and keep an eye on the news. But anyways, so there's two scenarios right here on SPY. It did come up and retest this breakdown area from the bear flag. It could end up going below 433 and retest this 427 area. But I'm thinking that we're probably going to gap up, and we're probably going to make a run and fill this gap to 445. I just hope that SPY ES tonight futures does not have a 50-point gap up, because I really, really cannot stand these massive gap ups and gap downs, because what ends up happening most of the time, I should say, is when you have these massive gap ups, it chops all day, and I really hate that. It makes it difficult to trade when you have massive gap downs and gap ups, and it just chops. During the day it ranges about 10, 15, maybe 20 points, but yet it gaps down and gaps up 50 points. I really can't stand that. It's really annoying as a trader to deal with that. So two scenarios on SPY, like I said: gap fill if it's still bullish, and if it does reject this trend line right here, that we could come back down to 427. So flip a coin. We'll have to see how it ends up being in the morning and stuff like that. So that's why you need to be in the room, and we'll just adjust by that. So now I'll get into the plays. Target, there's one of them. Christmas season's coming. Retail should be picking up. I've been saying that for a couple weeks, and same with shipping, which I have FDX on here. We'll get to that in a moment. But I've been saying for a while Target's going to come back down and retest the RCT trend line, and it finally did. It did end up doing that. I had a nice little hammer right here on the daily, so I would watch it over Friday's high of 229. We'll say 230. If it does manage to get to 230, we could probably end up seeing a pretty decent push, because when it does have a reversal, like right here, it's got a nice reversal candle right here for let's see, 8 points. No, 7 points right there. So we could see a pretty decent run out of Target tomorrow. So if it does manage to get over Friday's high for a push to 235, 237.50, 240, 245, I would not be a bit surprised if Target ends up going back to all-time highs in the next few weeks or month. Target, it just does not really dip that much, and when it does fully recover pretty fast. So like right here, it dipped and got bought up, and it tried to get bought up right here, but it didn't really, and it just dropped more. But now that it's down here, it's probably a good area to grab. Stochastics is oversold on the weekly and the daily, so I think it's got definitely some room to run. Microsoft has been getting beaten down a little bit because of the market, but it had a nice strong day on Friday. If it can get over this 290 area, we'll say 290 for the high of Friday. likely fill the gap to 293, 295. You get another gap right here to 300. So 300 has been the magic number for Microsoft. So that would be the target, 300, and all-time high right around 305, 306. So looking for a gap fill right here. Hopefully we don't have any massive gap ups or gap downs, because that does affect Microsoft and a lot of the stocks that we trade. So that and Roku is another one. Roku doesn't really care what SPY wants to do most of the time. Roku likes to do its own thing. Now it seems to have been bottoming out right around in the 310 area. So it likes to bounce hard in this area. So did it here, and now hopefully we'll do it here. I would imagine that if it does manage to get over this 315 level, 320, 330, get a gap fill right here in the 332, 333 area, and 340 and 350 big resistance. Now Roku hasn't had one of those monster days. Roku just likes to come out of the blue when no one's looking and do a 25 to a 50 point run. And it usually ends up being on Mondays when premium's high and no one's really anticipating a big move. So I think it's gearing up. I mean, you get inverted head and shoulders right here on the left, the head and right shoulder right there. So 315 be a big magic number, and 330, 340 is going to come really fast if it gets momentum. It could do that in tomorrow. I mean, if it does break this and has some buying volume, and this thing could shoot to 330, 340 tomorrow. We'll have to see. Now Nike, it got hammered on earnings. Now it's starting to bottom out to 145. Now if it does manage to get over the 148 area, I'll look for a push to 150, big psychological number. Then you get gap resistance here at 152. I would imagine that it's probably going to reject the first run, because usually on gap resistance it does not break the first time, especially if it's dropped this much. Now if it was like right here and it went back up, it probably would break because it didn't really drop that much. But because it's dropped quite a bit and it's been downtrending, and it just finally broke the downtrend right here on Friday, well, it almost did. We kind of rejected it to break right there. But if it does manage to get over the 148, it will actually confirm the trend change, and I think it's going to reject 152. So I would use that as a target. But also be aware, you get a gap fill down here at the 135 area. So if it does get below the 144, it's look out below. You got this 138, then you get the 134, 135 area. So but I would imagine Nike is probably going to end up trying to recover this week. So I mentioned FedEx earlier because of Christmas season and shipping and retail picking up. It's just been getting hammered on the weekly, the daily, the hourly. It's just been going crazy. RSI is still below 21. The weekly, the RSI is actually below 32, about 30 right now, and the last time it was this low was right here, and look, it just took off. So I think that this would be a nice long-term hold for FedEx on for possibly a long-term play. Might even look at a spread this week, maybe for a couple of years out. Depends how far out I can go, but yeah, FedEx will likely recover, and I would watch it over 220 Friday side, 224 for push to 230, 235. So might reject a little bit there, make an inverted head and shoulders before filling the gap. So FedEx definitely like. Win. Now Win seems to be bottoming out right here, the 80 area. So I would watch it over, we'll say 88 for a push to 90. Then you get this gap resistance right here at 95. And Win gets some momentum behind it, it could probably fill the gap to 100. So I would watch for a potential move up to 100, but you get an inverted head and shoulders right here. You get a little bit of a left shoulder right here, and you get a head and a right shoulder. So if it does break Friday side at 90, 95, 100, it could come really quick. So Twitter and pins, I just keep watching these every single week. Now it does look like it started to bottom out at the 59.60 area. Now if it can get some momentum behind it, I mean, it did go to the RCT trend line on the weekly. I do like seeing that. Now, if I can just get some buying momentum behind it over Friday's high of 62 for push to 60, 63, just basically every whole dollar, 64, 65 we a gap fill, 66, 67. On the daily, the 67.50 is the high of this higher high right there, so because it's higher than this one, so we'll have to see if it actually can get up to that area or not. Now pins I have mixed feelings about, because every time pin starts to get any momentum, it just gets hammered on. Like right here, it gapped up, it had a big run up on Friday and just got hammered on in the afternoon, so we'll have to see if that can kind of recover or not. I mean, it tried to get over this 55 range. This RCT trend line is acting as resistance. The 20 EMA is acting as resistance on the daily. So if it can manage to break the 20 EMA on the daily, it probably has a chance. So I would watch it over, I would even obviously Friday's high 54 to 55, 56, 57, every whole dollar. You get gap resistance right here at 60. I highly doubt it's going to break on the first shot. I mean, that would probably be target number one, would be 60. So now that is it. I already went through Target, Microsoft, stuff like that. So that's going to do it for the watch list. Like I've been saying, you need to be in the room, because the overnight futures do change the dynamics of the play. I post my trade ideas in the morning on the 2 or 3 best looking ones and adjust during the day and stuff like that. So that's going to do it for the watch list. Hope to see you in the room, and thanks for watching.